Beloved, there is a sacred law moving on your behalf at this very moment, whether your senses recognize it or not. There is a power, a presence, a divine intelligence that formed the galaxies, breathed life into you, and stamped eternity on your soul. That power is not a distant dream. It is the reality of your being. It knows your name, your path, your potential, and your divine destiny. You are not weak. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. You are the temple of the living Spirit, and that Spirit is alive, active, and awake in you right now. Today we don't merely visit Psalm 27. We unlock it. We don't repeat Scripture. We realize it. This is not religion. It is revelation. You are about to walk through a door, not into poetry, but into power, because the Lord is not simply a light. He is your light. And when the light becomes yours, no shadow can remain in your mind. No fear can hold your heart. No darkness can cloud your direction. You were never designed to stumble. You were born to stand. You were never meant to fall. You were created to rise. The Lord is my light. Therefore, no shadow can remain in my mind. When you truly realize that the Lord is your light, you awaken to a higher illumination that transcends all human limitation. This light is not a flickering candle or the morning sun. It is the eternal radiance of the infinite Spirit that dwells within you, around you, and through you. This light is intelligence, love, power, and divine truth all at once. It is the light that shatters ignorance, the light that reveals paths where none seem to exist, the light that guides you gently but firmly through every valley of confusion. When this divine light becomes your identity, your affirmation, and your awareness, then no shadow of fear, doubt, or despair can remain in your mind. What are shadows but the illusions created by a lack of light? What is fear but the result of forgetting the light that already lives in you? The psalmist does not say the Lord gives light. He says the Lord is my light. That means light is not something outside of you to chase or earn. It is the very fabric of your soul, the core of your consciousness. You are not separate from this light. It is your birthright. When your mind aligns with this awareness, then all subconscious darkness must flee. Worry, anxiety, depression, and confusion begin to dissipate, not through struggle, but through spiritual recognition. You don't need to fight shadows. You simply turn on the light. This is the spiritual principle at work. Light and darkness cannot coexist. When divine light floods the mind, there is no room for false beliefs. You begin to think right thoughts, and right thoughts produce right results. As the light of the Lord enters your awareness, your thinking becomes clarified, your emotions become stabilized, and your decisions become empowered by spiritual discernment. This is not a theoretical idea. It is an active power, a living truth. Just as the sun melts away the morning fog, the light of God clears the confusion in your heart and mind. Let your affirmation be, "The Lord is my light now." When you say it, feel it. Know it. Do not just repeat it mechanically. Speak it from your soul until your entire being vibrates with the assurance that divine light is guiding you, energizing you, healing you, and revealing to you the perfect solution in every situation. You no longer walk in darkness because you walk with the light of infinite intelligence. You no longer dwell in confusion because you abide in the clarity of God's vision. This light doesn't just light your path. It transforms your path. It doesn't just show you the way. It becomes the way. And when you live in the light, you are no longer the same. You become radiant, confident, and unshakable. In every trial, turn to the light. In every decision, seek the light. In every storm, trust the light. Let that be your inner law. The Lord is my light. I will no longer entertain the falsehood of fear. For what can fear do in the presence of such light? What power does darkness have when the very source of all light resides within my being? This is not mere hope. It is spiritual knowing. The light of the Lord is not affected by outer conditions. It is not dimmed by criticism, circumstances, or human limitations. It shines as surely in the valley as it does on the mountaintop. Your mind, renewed by this light, becomes a channel of divine ideas. You begin to see with spiritual vision. You begin to perceive the truth behind appearances. Problems shrink in the presence of light because you no longer magnify them. You magnify the presence of God. When you align your thoughts with this principle, your life begins to reflect that order. The fog lifts, the path clears, the heaviness lifts, the questions are answered, the decisions are made with calm authority, the situations are transformed, not by force, but by spiritual clarity. Fear dissolves in the presence of divine confidence. Fear is not a force. It is a suggestion. It is a mental mirage that gains strength only when you accept it as real. But when the consciousness of divine confidence enters your soul, fear has no place to rest. It crumbles before the authority of spiritual certainty. You are not born of fear. You are born of divine assurance. The same life that animates the stars, that governs the galaxies, that keeps the oceans within their borders, is the life that dwells in you, and that life has no fear in it. Confidence in God is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the humble yet powerful acknowledgement that the Creator of the universe walks with you, within you, and ahead of you. Fear tries to argue with your senses, but confidence rests in spiritual truth. Fear says, "What if?" Confidence says, "Even if." Fear imagines chaos. Confidence expects order. Fear tries to whisper false endings. Confidence declares divine outcomes. You are not meant to live in anxiety or mental torment. Your spiritual inheritance is peace. That peace comes not from the world, but from a higher source, from the deep conviction that all things are governed by a wisdom that is beyond error, beyond failure, and beyond limitation. Confidence is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of God in the midst of it. When you stand in divine confidence, you're not pretending everything is perfect. You are recognizing that the power within you is perfect, and that this power knows exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to bring it to pass. This awareness gives you boldness, not worldly boldness, but spiritual boldness. You can walk through fire and not be burned. You can pass through the waters and not drown. You can face the giants of life and know that you are not alone. Fear says you are too small. Divine confidence says, "Greater is He that is in me." Fear says you will not make it. Divine confidence says, "I can do all things through the one who strengthens me." Fear shows you closed doors. Confidence shows you that you carry the key, and the key is your spiritual authority, your unwavering trust in the presence, power, and perfection of God, working through you now. This is the great truth that sets you free. You do not overcome fear by willpower. You overcome fear by faith power. Faith is not blind. It sees clearly into the realm of possibility. It sees what the senses cannot grasp. It knows what the intellect cannot calculate. The moment you choose confidence in God, you begin to rise above the storm. You do not fight the fear. You replace it. You replace it with the word of truth, with the awareness of divine protection, with the calm knowing that you are guided by an infinite presence that never fails. And as you walk in this confidence, doors begin to open. Help begins to appear. Answers begin to flow. Fear loses its grip because it no longer finds agreement in your thoughts. You have come into agreement with divine law, and that law is peace. That law is order. That law is confidence in the one who never sleeps, never stumbles, and never leaves you without support. This is your new identity, calm in the storm, unshaken by appearances, rooted in divine knowing. You are not a child of chaos. You are a channel of divine order. You do not have to know every detail of the path. You only have to trust the one who holds the path. This trust produces a confidence that radiates from within, quiet but powerful, still but immovable. You walk differently. You speak differently. You think differently because you are no longer reacting. You are responding from a higher place, from a place of divine confidence. I am anchored in the secret place where no harm can reach me. There is a sacred chamber of the soul, a hidden dwelling not made with hands, where peace flows like a river and safety is absolute. This place is not geographical. It cannot be touched by storms or shaken by outward events. It is the secret place of the Most High, described in psalm after psalm, spoken of by sages and prophets, longed for by generations, but it is not far away. It is within you. It is the divine sanctuary of your own consciousness, where God abides, and you are never alone. And when you say, "I am anchored in the secret place," you are not making a poetic statement. You are declaring a spiritual law. You are rooted in divine protection. You are surrounded by an invisible shield, a living field of God's intelligence and love, where no harm, no threat, no disturbance can penetrate. To be anchored is to be held firm, unmoved by currents, untouched by chaos. It means your center of being is established, secured, and immovable. When outer winds blow, you remain still. When the waters rise, you remain calm, because your mind, your heart, your soul have found their home in the secret place. This secret place is the awareness of divine presence. It is not a concept. It is a living experience. It is a condition of consciousness where you realize, deeply and silently, that the presence of God surrounds you like an atmosphere, that everywhere you are, God is, that everything concerning you is already known by divine intelligence, and nothing that happens can reach you unless it passes through the hands of perfect love. This anchoring does not depend on how things look. It is not a reaction to circumstances. It is a position of inner certainty. When you close your eyes and enter that place within, when you still your mind and turn inward to the source of your being, you are stepping into the pavilion of God's presence. This is where guidance flows without confusion. This is where peace reigns without interruption. And this is where you discover that you are never outside the circle of divine care. Every time you affirm, "I am anchored in the secret place," you strengthen your inner foundation. You begin to think from a higher altitude. You begin to walk with a different rhythm, not rushing or fearing, but moving in step with divine harmony. You begin to carry a stillness within you that goes with you into meetings, into traffic, into relationships, into uncertain moments, and that stillness becomes your spiritual environment. Harm cannot reach the consciousness that abides in divine knowing. The moment you shift your attention from fear to presence, from noise to silence, from panic to prayer, you enter the secret place again, and you stay there, not by fleeing the world, but by walking through it with God consciousness. This secret place is not about hiding. It is about standing tall in spiritual awareness. It is where you recognize that outer appearances have no final say over your life, that no report, no circumstance, no threat can override the truth of who walks with you. To live from this place is to be invulnerable, not because you are stronger than the world, but because you are united with the one who created the world. You become calm in the face of bad news, steady in times of change, unshaken in moments of loss, because deep within you know you are safe, you are guarded, you are held in the everlasting arms. There is no need to strive when you are anchored. There is no need to defend, argue, or explain. You simply abide. You abide in the center, and from that center you radiate strength, wisdom, and peace. When others panic, you pray. When others fall into confusion, you rise into clarity, not because you are better, but because you are aware, because you remember, because you have made the secret place your dwelling, not your vacation. You return there each morning. You carry it with you throughout the day. You return again before you sleep. And each time you do, the anchoring grows stronger, deeper, more certain. This is not escapism, it is empowerment. You are not avoiding life. You are rising above its illusions. You are not closing your eyes to danger. You are opening them to divine reality. The secret place is not far. It is not hidden from you. It is hidden for you. It is the treasure chest of divine awareness, waiting for your conscious return. Every enemy becomes powerless before the radiant power of God within. There is a light within you that has never been dimmed by darkness, never been broken by pain, never been shaken by conflict. It is the light of the indwelling presence, the radiant power of God, alive in your innermost being. This power is not passive, it is potent, it is not abstract. It is active. It is not dormant. It is divine energy, always moving, always working, always renewing. And when you allow this power to rise in your awareness, when you speak from it, act from it, and trust in it, then no enemy, whether seen or unseen, inner or outer, can stand before it. Enemies take many forms: fear, resentment, sickness, criticism, betrayal, injustice, self-doubt. But whatever their mask, their essence is the same: illusion, powerless shadows that dissolve in the face of divine light. They draw strength only when you forget the source within. But when you return to the truth, When you turn to the light, you see clearly. These so-called enemies have no authority. They do not determine your destiny. They cannot block your purpose. They cannot stand against the power of God that lives and breathes through your very being. The radiant power of God does not argue. It simply shines. It does not struggle. It simply transforms. It does not fear. It simply is. And when you invoke that presence through your words, your thoughts, your consciousness, you are activating a spiritual law that supersedes all human resistance. Enemies may come, but they cannot prevail. Problems may rise, but they cannot conquer. You are not fighting them with your own energy. You are allowing divine energy to flow through you, to go before you, to surround you, to protect you. When the psalmist says that his enemies stumbled and fell, he is not boasting. He is describing a principle. The moment a lesser power tries to challenge a higher one, it collapses. When you bring light into a room, the darkness does not fight back, it vanishes. That is the spiritual reality behind this keynote. As long as you walk in your true identity, as long as you affirm the presence and power of God within you, as long as you hold fast to truth and act with divine clarity, then every enemy, whether it comes through people, circumstances, or thoughts, must become powerless. This power is not loud. It is not dramatic. It does not demand attention, but its results are undeniable. You walk into a room, and the atmosphere shifts. You speak, and confusion clears. You pray, and healing begins. You decide, and doors open, not because you are forcing things, but because you are aligned with the radiant power that makes all things new. This is not magic. It is spiritual law. You have given God full authority in your life, and that authority renders every opposing force null and void. You are not afraid of resistance, because you know who goes before you. You are not worried about opposition, because you know what lives within you. The same power that raised the sun this morning is the power that beats your heart, directs your steps, opens your mind, and sustains your being. Enemies may shout, but you remain silent in confidence. Attacks may come, but you stand firm in the armor of divine light, because you know every enemy becomes powerless before the radiant power of God within. My heart shall not fear, for I know who walks with me. When the heart is anchored in divine awareness, fear becomes a distant echo rather than a dominating force. To declare my heart shall not fear is to announce a new law over your life, a spiritual principle that rewrites how you respond to everything around you. It is not a denial of danger. It is the recognition of a deeper presence walking beside you and within you. Fear often enters when the mind feels alone, isolated, separated from support. But this keynote affirms the sacred truth that you are never walking alone. The one who formed the stars, who breathed galaxies into being, who shaped the mountains and called the oceans to their borders. This infinite presence is with you. This knowing is not just intellectual. It must move into your heart. The heart that knows divine companionship cannot tremble under the weight of temporal challenges. You may walk through valleys, through uncertainty, through loss, but when you know who walks with you, your steps remain steady. When storms gather, you remember the one who speaks peace to waves. When shadows fall, you recall the light that can never be extinguished. You are not carrying burdens alone. You are not navigating your path blind. You are walking in partnership with divine intelligence, and that companionship is not occasional. It is continual. Fear tries to invade the heart by painting pictures of what could go wrong, what might happen, what may be lost. But your spiritual heart sees differently. It sees not through the lens of circumstance, but through the lens of covenant. And that covenant is this: I will never leave you, nor forsake you. You don't need to feel it to believe it. You know it because it is divine truth, and truth does not shift based on feelings. Even when your emotions waver, this knowing stands firm. The Lord walks with you. Think about the difference between walking alone and walking with someone you trust. The atmosphere changes. You breathe differently. You carry yourself differently. Now magnify that truth into spiritual reality. What does it mean to walk with the Creator of the universe? What confidence is yours when the one who sees the end from the beginning is guiding your steps? This is not about religious tradition. It is about spiritual transformation. You no longer walk into rooms, situations, or seasons wondering if you have enough. You walk in the awareness that you are accompanied by divine sufficiency. Your heart becomes settled, not because life is always easy, but because presence is always with you. When you lie down, you are not alone. When you rise, you are not alone. When you make decisions, you are not leaning on limited understanding. You are listening to the voice of wisdom that never fails. Your inner posture shifts from anxiety to assurance, from panic to poise, from timidity to trust. You are not looking for validation from the outside, because you have already received it from the source. You are not waiting for signs of approval from others, because you walk with the one whose approval is eternal. My heart shall not fear is not a hollow phrase. It is a living shield. It is the boundary you set around your soul. It is the declaration that lifts you above the flood. It is the law that keeps you rooted when the winds of uncertainty try to sway your focus. Your heart beats in rhythm with divine assurance. Every time you feel fear trying to creep in, you remind your heart, not with force but with faith, I know who walks with me. This knowing is your atmosphere. It is your protection. It is your clarity. And with it you are never shaken. The desire of my soul is to dwell in divine presence all the days of my life. When your soul desires the presence of God above all else, you enter into a different rhythm of living. You are no longer chasing outer accomplishments as your source of fulfillment. You are living from the center, from the still sacred place where you and the infinite meet. To dwell in divine presence is not a ritual. It is a state of consciousness. It is a heart turned continually toward the source. It is a mind attuned to divine wisdom. It is a life shaped by the awareness that God is not far off, not a distant idea, but the very atmosphere of your existence. This desire is not born from fear or obligation. It is born from recognition. The soul remembers its origin. It knows that peace, joy, purpose, and love flow not from accumulation, but from alignment. The more your soul tastes of divine presence, the less it craves distractions. You no longer hunger for fleeting validation because you are fed by eternal communion. You no longer thirst for empty pursuits because your wellspring is within. Every breath becomes sacred. Every moment becomes a meeting place. To dwell is to remain. It is not a passing visit, it is a permanent residence. And when your soul dwells in divine presence, you live above the surface noise. You become aware of the still small voice within, guiding, correcting, comforting, and inspiring. You are not reacting to the world. You are responding from a place of divine peace. You are not looking for sanctuary. You have become one. You carry the presence with you into your work, your relationships, your rest, your creativity. There is no compartment of your life untouched by the awareness of God's nearness. This desire to dwell is not passive. It is powerful. It becomes the engine of your decisions. You begin to ask, does this choice keep me in alignment with divine peace? You begin to shift your focus from what impresses people to what draws you deeper into presence. Your conversations change. Your goals evolve. Your identity becomes clearer, not because you're trying to reinvent yourself, but because you are remembering your true self, the self that was formed in divine love, shaped by divine purpose, and sustained by divine grace. Every soul has this longing, even if it is buried beneath years of noise, trauma, or conditioning. The desire to dwell in divine presence is the soul's return to its native land. It is the cry of the heart that has tasted all the world has to offer and realized that nothing compares to the quiet fullness of being with God. This dwelling is not limited to sacred spaces or spiritual practices. It is woven into the everyday. Washing dishes can become holy. Driving to work can become prayer. Sitting in silence becomes a meeting with the infinite. Divine presence is not limited by time. It is accessed by awareness. The more you dwell, the more you reflect, the more more you reflect, the more others feel that presence through you. It becomes the invisible fragrance of your life. Peace when others feel tension, kindness when others offer resistance, clarity when confusion abounds. You are no longer striving to be spiritual. You are living from spirit. You don't need to impress, convert, or persuade. You simply embody, and that embodiment is the fruit of your soul's one great desire, to dwell in divine presence. This dwelling is not about escaping life. It is about elevating it. You live fully, deeply, richly, not because of what you possess, but because of who you are in communion with. Your soul is no longer restless because it has found its home. This home is not a place. It is a presence. And once you find it, nothing else satisfies. The desire of your soul becomes the rhythm of your days. You wake with it. You walk with it. You rest with it. And through this dwelling you are transformed from within. In times of trouble, I am hidden in the pavilion of spiritual safety. When challenges arise and chaos tries to overtake the mind, there is a sacred shelter, a pavilion not built with human hands, where the soul is protected, uplifted, and reassured. This divine hiding place is not an escape, but a spiritual reality that shields you from the harshness of the outer world. In this inner sanctuary, fear cannot breathe, confusion cannot enter, and despair cannot thrive. You are surrounded by peace that passes understanding, embraced by a presence that is mightier than the storm. No weapon formed against your spirit can prosper here, because you are dwelling in the protective embrace of infinite love. My head is lifted above all opposition because I trust the higher power. When the soul fully trusts the divine, it rises above human limitation and contradiction. Trust in the higher power elevates your perspective. You no longer see opposition as a threat, but as a stepping stone. Your head is lifted because your heart is anchored in truth. Circumstances may swirl, but your inner posture remains upright. This spiritual upliftment is not ego. It is divine assurance manifesting in your being. You operate not from fear, but from authority, not from struggle, but from serenity, because your elevation is not earned. It is received through trust. I believe to see the goodness of God in this very moment, in this very life. Faith is not waiting for a future miracle. It is the bold declaration that divine goodness is active now. To believe to see is to reverse the order of human reasoning. It is to know inwardly before outward proof appears. This belief opens your spiritual eyes to beauty, order, and blessings that may be invisible to the natural mind. You begin to expect good, and that expectation becomes the magnet for manifestation. You live not by chance, but by divine design. Every moment becomes a doorway for grace, every breath an opportunity to witness the hand of God moving in your life. I wait with bold expectation, knowing all things are unfolding in divine order. Waiting is no longer passive when your soul is anchored in divine trust. You do not wait with worry. You wait with boldness, because your inner knowing is stronger than outer delay. Divine order is always working, even when logic cannot trace it. You become still, not because you lack options, but because you understand the rhythm of heaven. Patience becomes power, expectation becomes fuel, and you align yourself with the timing of the infinite. You have just walked through the unshakable terrain of Psalm 27, and your soul has been fed from a higher table. You now understand that fear is not your master, because the Lord is your light. You know now that divine confidence dissolves every shadow. You are no longer a wanderer. You are anchored in the secret place. You stand, not shaken by enemies, but exalted above them. You don't fear the storm, because you know who walks beside you. You don't chase fulfillment, because your soul's only desire is to dwell in divine presence. You are hidden in the pavilion of protection, lifted in divine strength, and elevated by trust. And now your waiting is no longer weary, it is bold, because you know all things are unfolding in divine order. This is not theory, it is law, it is spiritual fact. Walk in it, live in it, declare it. And if this awakens something deep within your spirit today, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel Bamant, where divine truth becomes living experience. And remember, your breakthrough begins the moment you believe to see.